Crypt Keeper is back, and he has 2 films to review. And I'm back to my horror content. So, this is going to be my dual review on The Mummy and The Mummy Returns. So, you do see this as like the Mummy trilogy, but I'm only going to talk about the first 2. And off the bat, I will say this. I picked these 2 to be part of my horror project. So, let's get into it. Okay, so The Mummy and The Mummy Returns were 2 childhood staples of mine, and I watched them all the time. So let's go ahead and get into The Mummy. And The Mummy was released in 1999, and it stars the likes of Brendan Fraser, Rachel Weisz, John Hannah, Arnold Vosloo, and Patricia Velasquez. And this is essentially a modern day Mummy remake. So, this is not your typical horror movie per se. It's more of like an action adventure with horror elements. So the way this movie starts off, it gives a background on Imhotep and Anck-su-namun's forbidden love affair. And Imhotep assassinates the pharaoh, and Anck-su-namun sacrifices herself, and then Imhotep gets mummified. So, fast forward 3,000 years or so, and you have the introduction of Rick O'Connell, played awesomely by Brendan Fraser. And he is part of like the French Legion, I believe. And he is in Cairo fighting the Magi, which are like descendants of the Pharaoh's priests. And there's a lot of banter in here with him and Benny, which is like one of the dumbest sidekicks I've ever seen in movie history. But he is entertaining as hell. Because he works as like a double crosser and a triple crosser, but all of a sudden he is on the side of Rick O'Connell, and then he betrays him again, befriending Imhotep as the Mummy. And I do have to admit, the first hour or so of this movie really drags, but once Imhotep comes into the picture, this movie just gets better and better on the entertainment scale. It's cheesy, but it's a really fun movie. And Rick O'Connell has to find a way to put Imhotep back to rest. So he actually befriends Evie, played by Rachel Weisz, and they work together to save the world and day. But once Imhotep arises, there's also like a plague of locusts. The Nile turns into the color of blood. It's all very biblical when it happens. So, yeah. And not to mention, the kills in here are cutaway because it is PG-13, but every kill in here is very suspenseful. Especially the dude that like loses his glasses and Imhotep steals his eyes and his tongue. So, very fun movie. And it was a childhood staple of mine. So, overall, I would give The Mummy 1999. I would honestly give this like an A. Now, I know it's not a traditional horror movie, but it's my list. Come at me. Yeah. Those are my thoughts on The Mummy 1999. And segueing right into The Mummy Returns. This was released 2 years later in 2001, and it brings back everybody. This movie is a little bit more rewatchable because a lot of stuff happens in this movie. You also get the introduction of the Scorpion King, played by The Rock, in here. And the Scorpion King was basically like this warrior who went up against Anubis or something like that. So his army loses the battle and they are forced to walk into the desert until they die of heat, leaving the Scorpion King alive. So on the brink of death, the Scorpion King makes a plea with Anubis to spare his life. There we go. So that's how this movie starts off. And then you're taken to like Hamunaptra in 1933, which is the city of the dead, and you have like a new set of villains in here led by the now resurrected Anaxinamun. So they have to revive Imhotep again, but you also had the addition of Rick and Evie's kid, Alex. I will say, Alex was kind of annoying. But he has the smarts of his mom, and he like knows everything about ancient Egypt. And he comes across the Scorpion King's bracelet, and he puts it on, and he has to take it off in 7 days before dying. So, the power of this bracelet commands the army of Anubis. So, yeah. That's the whole movie in a nutshell. I really do enjoy this one a little bit more than the original, but it does get a little bit cheesy near the end with the apparent death of Evie. While the twist in here is that Evie was a reincarnated version of Nefertiti, not Nefertiti. I always mix that up when I rewatched this, and I just caught it this time. But anyway, she was the Pharaoh's daughter, and Anaxinamun was her rival. So, the whole climax of this movie tests the love of Evie and Anaxinamun towards Rick and Imhotep, while they're also battling the god-awful creation of the Scorpion King himself. And I'll post a picture on how bad this looks. It's like something from like a PS2 game in 2001. It's really that bad. But overall, I really do enjoy both of these movies quite a bit. And I would also give The Mummy Returns an A. So, those are my thoughts on both The Mummy and The Mummy Returns. Hope you guys enjoyed. And I have one more video to film for you guys tonight. And that movie is actually on right now. Yeah, I'm gonna review that. So, I'll see you guys in a minute for my Exorcist movie review. Adios. Peace.